Okay, goddamn, I remember the last time I was in here, let alone the rest of us. It was
I was
the
probably in here
demeanor.
the last time he was in here.
It was the demeanor the last time we were in here. Now we are all gathered here today for the holy movie of Dune 2. This movie, been
Our
psyched.
holy day.
Been
of
psyched
leap.
to see this since the
Leap
first
year.
movie ended, and then we had
Yeah.
it was supposed to come out in October, and then we got that whole pushback, and now the day finally came. And I was telling him on the way there that the whole space of time did kind of like make me not as hyped for it. But I have to admit, when I left this fucking movie, I felt it again. I felt like the same way I left from the first movie. I love this fucking movie a lot. It was very entertaining. It was different from the first one. Granted, and I don't think it flowed as well as the first one did. There were some things I liked that were better in the first one. There's some stuff in here that I know that wasn't part of the book that I enjoy.
Getting that resurgence of like that feeling was awesome. Like getting into the feeling, hearing Hans.
Oh my
was
god,
awesome.
Hans's music and
Seeing the
nothing was
visuals,
really.
starting to see the visuals was
Oh my-
amazing.
So the music, I didn't hear anything different, which is fine because the first one
I think he
loved
cranked
a
it
lot.
up. I think he
I
cranked
think
the
he was
volume
a lot
up
of-
to 11.
there was a lot of-
He bombed you with
He
it.
has
Yeah.
he has a lot of he has a lot
Like,
of
it scared
taste.
me.
He has-
Yeah, no, I
yeah.
loved it. I was getting fucking jacked.
So he has a lot of
He
taste. and a
tells
lot
you
of
when
love
to
for
be
bass.
excited.
Something
and,
big's happening.
And you do get
when
excited.
you don't really know, like, is this a big deal? He'll let you
And
know
it's a
that's
mixture.
a big deal.
It's a mixture, too, if you didn't know Hans.
I don't know the director of photography, but this guy is so freaking good. He's like coming up on the ranks of my one of my favorite
Oh, yeah.
cinematographers.
The cinematics and the scale of the film alone, like, it's almost an art form in and of itself.
Oh my god!
Like it's just
Oh, it is.
beautiful to watch.
Right.
You don't even
It
have to
is
have anything
beautiful.
going. So all you need is the score and the visuals. And it's
Oh,
just stunning.
amazing! And then you get the juicy story in there as well. Some things were different, but I will say that
Different, yeah.
part one and this new part two, if you watch them back to back, they would flow perfectly. I feel like they would flow just perfect.
They hit the same beats. They meet a lot of the same like events and like things that happen that go on in the
and
movie.
we're finishing the
important
story,
stuff,
the
yeah.
tragic story of the
I
first
thought the
one.
flow was pretty consistent, honestly,
Yeah.
with the second one. It moved pretty good. I think maybe we held on to, like, Paul becoming one of the Fremen a tad too long.
I think
They
that's kind of where
did do some
we're kinda-
montage.
yeah.
They did some montage, which I knew was coming, which was fine, and they did it. You saw his eyes turn blue, so you're like, okay, so he's been there for a few months, I guess.
And Channy slowly falling
And
in love.
what's her face is still pregnant. I was never not entertained, kind of
Right.
like the first,
first
one
one.
too.
Yeah,
The flow was good. The entertainment balance was also
it had you hooked. Yeah.
pristine, I think.
Right. I will have to disagree with the whole once he's like trying to be a Fremen dragged a little bit. Every time he succeeded, they always had like a reaction shot of the crowd because remember when he first walked into the Fremen and they were like, "Fucking who is this?" Well, you had half. Half was like, "Ooh, he's the one." The other one's like, "Get the fuck out of here." So there was
Yeah.
a lot of faith-based belief in here, and there was a good split in the middle where Channy's side and her crew were atheists. They didn't believe. They believed in the nation. They didn't believe in the religion, and the other side was the opposite. Okay, they were slowly starting to believe that this foreign kid is the chosen one. There's
Yeah.
definitely a part in the end where he starts cutting loose and he kind of abandons his
Because he knows the root.
Yeah.
he
knows what to
abandons
do.
his whole like I want to be more realistic. I know the Bene Gesserit planned out this whole thing that was fake, and then it's kind of turning to be real. So then eventually he's like, I want to use it. Kind of goes a little dark side, like we said before we started this video. So very interesting in and of itself too, because Paul's character is going like this with his motivations. First is I want to avenge my dad. I want to win this war. I want to free these people, and then it turned into just pure takeover of the galaxy. It seemed like
It's kind of both. He
Right.
rides the revenge train all the way
Right.
through.
So my whole thing with we got a lot more. I was telling him that I felt like there was a lot more of a Star Wars vibe in this one than there was in the first one. And so what I liked about this one was we got to see more of the technology kind of get more and more diverse. We got
The
to see
guns.
the weapons. There's some parts in there where we see cities. There's a part in there where we see a bunch of crowds of people. And so branches of
Technology-
government and stuff like that.
Technology being advanced, but not like super advanced.
Everything
not the way
was-
you would think. Yeah,
Things
it's
were
not super
explored
techy,
upon
but-
and like broadened in the tech and in the lore and the worlds. We got into the part where there was a lot of faith based ideology in here where you can use faith as a
orchestrated,
weapon and
targeted faith. Like,
yeah,
I love that.
right.
I love that so
and
much.
it turned into I don't believe to I don't believe, but I need to use it. And some
Where
people
belief becomes real.
exactly
So like a liberating
right.
Yeah.
faith.
So we know the crowd knows that it's bullshit, but then it turns into real. So who are you to say that their belief wasn't their prayers weren't answered or whatever?
Right.
And that was the whole purpose of the
Right.
Bene Gesserit making it, because they knew eventually it would be real.
Right.
So they weren't lying to them, saying that
Right.
the one was coming. It's true. It is
Right.
coming.
Just a matter
Maybe
of
the
time.
prophecy they thought was what it turns out to be different
Right,
from their
exactly.
visions from it. But yeah, they opened Pandora's box with
Right.
Paul. That's
Yeah.
what I love.
So again, music, visuals, action, the acting, the directing. I love this. I feel like that this movie's gonna get nominated. This is for sure. There's gonna be a sequel. It'd be so fucking dumb for them
Man,
to
that one's
quit
gonna be
cold
intense.
turkey like this. And yeah, and it's gonna get even crazier. So I think we got another successful franchise, which I knew this with the first movie, and this one just kind of reinforced that thought. So with all that being said, we'll go ahead and move into the spoilers section because I know there's a lot of shit we want to talk about, good and bad.
I can
So I just want to start off with some of my shit that I wrote down in the theater. It was an interesting opening. We got some of the tech. What I was talking about, the snorkels. We got to see the snorkels, and then they popped up and they started killing people. The action started rolling, and even before that, the little caravan that we left off with at the end of the first one ran into a Harkonnen
like
unit or whatever.
like a probing team.
Right, and then they had their guns, and the guns were cool. By the way, I love the fucking guns. The
They brought a
artillery
lot more
on the
guns to it.
what's the
Yeah.
It's like a Hornithopter
the
minigun.
the gun. Oh my god, dude, that thing was so fucking cool. Where it just spat out
It was
100
it was
how
just
you
like a
would shoot
burst,
in a
yeah,
video
burst
and
game.
he was
gun,
just taking all the Fremen out. That was so fucking sick. That's what I was talking about.
At the end, they were lighting into just a
Right.
fucking crowd of people.
there was so much.
They're just
warfare.
going into
So-
a fucking.
There wasn't a lot of warfare, but when you got the warfare, you're like,
was
holy
intense.
shit! Like this is so different. I'm fucking
Yeah.
digging it.
And it was
I'm
good,
feeling
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Very good.
so I love that part, and like I said, it opened with a banger where Paul runs into a Harkonnen, takes a different sword, and he starts fighting them, and it starts to look like Star Wars to me.
I thought
don't
the
know what
climb
it
up the
was.
mountain with the anti-gravity thing
That
was
was
just
so
awesome to
cool.
watch.
That was really cool. Yeah.
There's
Right.
no reason for it to be insanely entertaining,
Right.
but for some reason it was like, damn, it's
The
like,
shot where
Anytime
they're
they're
running,
jumping
make that
around,
shit.
Yeah.
like even when Gurney later on does it, it's just
Right,
like
I
a
know.
real quick thing. It's
Right.
like that's
I
so
want
cool.
it. I
That's
want
so
that
sick.
shit.
they're running up the dune at an angle, and then you just go.
All they're doing is like,
and then
Dude.
they start walking up like it's water or something, like they're underwater,
Like they're floating. Yeah.
and they're up there, and all of a sudden they start
they can
getting
get away
sniped.
from fucking. Definitely can get away from fucking
The worms
worms,
and shit.
that way.
But it's clever because they set the ambush when they went up there. They knew they're going to seek high ground. Then all of a sudden they all get sniped, and
They
then
all
all
start
the
getting
bodies
popped,
start
yeah.
falling. Sick opening. I thought it was awesome. Again, with the technology that we got to see. We got to see the Fremen using that laser, just destroying the harvesters and shit. That was a cool visual. So, yeah, what I was worried about in this one, that we weren't going to get a lot of warfare. There was plenty of warfare in here, and it was sick when you got to see it.
I think there was a fair amount. There was some I thought they were going to focus a little bit more on, but they didn't. Like towards the end, I thought they were going to kind of focus a little bit more with that.
Yeah, they really didn't like dedicate too much screen time to the actual storming
yeah.
of the Capitol.
No,
You got to see a lot,
there was a lot of cool stuff you got to see.
but it was
a lot of cool action, but
It's
it
probably
was very
almost
brief.
balanced, if not less than the actual internal scenes. I will say, we're talking about warfare. I want to sneak this in. How we got gypped with the scene of the Harkonnen storming Arakeen in the beginning of the first one, where we see what's his name? Josh Brolin's character,
Gurney.
He's going straight at the crowd, and they're like, "Oh, let's do a charge thing." It was completely redeemed when he was in. There was a
Oh
scene
my
where
god!
you just see him just walking through. The guys with the flags are right behind him, and he's just casually
he's
walking
just
through
taking
it,
them out.
Yep.
and he's going boom, boom, boom.
And then in
boom,
the background,
boom,
you
boom,
see
boom.
the warfare of the gunships taking out a bunch of people, explosions going off.
And
in
the
background.
Revan 101, which was not entirely satisfying.
We got
but it
that.
was enough to
Right.
for me, because
I was
which
wanting-
didn't happen in the books. Anyone who reads the
Exactly.
books wanted that.
Exactly. So that's what I was saying about some things I weren't
They
in the
didn't get it.
books. that I got to see in here because remember when we saw that trailer when he said, "Look who's back from the dead," and he's walking up the stairs.
We
I
thought
was like,
we
please,
thought it was a trick.
please give me that, and we did get it. But I told you on the way here, I wish it went on a little bit, just a little bit longer, and maybe Gurney really hacked him up and really made him pay for it because the simple stab in the neck, that's for my Duke, and then it's over. Like I needed more with that. And he said that it was personal because he said he gave it to him when he was a kid. Dude, give me some of that personal.
That's legit lore too. I'm glad they snuck that in.
So that was
really
cool.
quick.
Gurney was sick in here. He got his moment. He got his revenge because what happened to Leto in that first one was really shitty, and you really felt bad for him. And the
First one's
Atreides
more
just
tragic.
the Atreides get wiped out, and then to see Gurney go fucking Hulk, to just go bloodthirsty in here was awesome to me. Very satisfying, and to see him take out Revan.
It was cool too. He was playing his instrument, singing a song, a tale.
Yeah, he just,
right.
Yeah.
So because I heard he was supposed to actually do it. I was like, I wonder when we're actually going to see this. And you do see him do it. And it's like, awesome,
yeah,
cool, just like the original.
Sick. Yeah, it was. Sick. Let's talk about Paul. Where, like I said in the non spoilers, that Paul is such. Oh my God, Timothy. I think like really fucking killed it in the first one. I think he killed it, just as good in this one. Where his motivations are, I'm in love. I want to do this. I do want to win the war, and if I can avoid going south, taking the water, and doing God knows what, because apparently he saw that he becomes a dictator pretty much, vaguely. Like, millions of people die because of his actions. Billions die because of his actions. And then eventually, Chani even said it, because he told her that I didn't want to go, and she's like, the world made our choice for us. And it just seems more and more that the prophecy is inevitable and that it has to happen. And so he's forced to go there, and then he said, I'm going to do what I have to. And she was like, what the hell does that mean? And when he turned left with the worm, he went to that place to get the water, and he knew that he had to win this way. Like, there's no way, even when after he took the water, he's like, we lost all these, but this narrow way right here is how we win. So he had to use that water to break through. And then kind of Chani takes the brunt of it because he's got to marry the emperor's daughter and shit like that. And of course she's a super atheist, and she doesn't want to see him use the religion against her people, and he ends up doing it anyways.
Yeah.
So I really like Paul's part in it. Chani's, I didn't mind. Like, you guys had problems with it, so go ahead and say what your problems were.
Like, I didn't have too much of a problem with her character to a degree. Like, she was alright, but it was like, there was moments of times where the way she spoke and the way she carried herself, I don't know if it's like just trying to differentiate the difference between like the northern Fremen and then like the southern Fremen. Like, just not only like culture, but like their like
beliefs,
their language and stuff. Like,
their language, their accents.
The way she talked was like almost perfect. Like, it was almost like she wasn't even a Fremen herself. You know what I mean? Like, all the other Fremen kind of had like some stuff, and she does kind of speak some Fremenese.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
Fremen talk.
But yeah, so she's able to speak, and she knows it, and she's fluent and everything. But she just, the way she carries herself is just kind of odd. It's almost like she's an outsider herself.
Yeah, it does.
Which is like completely weird. Like the first movie, you're like, she's a diehard Fremen, and then this one, she's like, no, dude, I'm like an atheist Northie, and
I wouldn't let you kill
like
my friend.
she embarrasses herself. Like,
yeah,
I think for me, like, she was the cringiest part of the movie. Like, when she's leaving and shit. She's like, they're like, you can't talk in here, idiot. You don't have the credential. And she goes, you're wrong. And then Gurney just rips her down. And she goes, and I'm like, just sit down.
Like,
just stop
like,
it.
I understand her motivations to like feel that way, but like just the way it kind of came off, I was like, man, like, you're just like.
It became all about her in a way. Like, it unnecessarily came more about her, and now they got to kind of keep up with that, and they're gonna like reconcile. Chani and Paul are gonna, like, even in his version of Dune, there's no way that they're not going. They have to have kids, so like the point of the diversion is, I think, unnecessary and just pointless. Like, I don't know where he's going with it. She got the last shot of the movie. She got the last shot. She's like staring down a worm, and I'm like, okay, you going south? Well, does that matter to me? Like, are you going north? Who cares? Like,
where is she going?
Yeah, like,
but in here, she knows somehow that the foreigners are setting up this lie to control them, And she even said it. It goes, "You tell them that a savior will come, they will wait, and they will do nothing."
Well, it's weird because like when they first arrive to the Northern Siege, like she's telling the Fremen who are like all giving him shit. Like
Right.
they're all giving Paul and his mother shit because they're outsiders and like they don't like
people.
believe him. Yeah, but then all of a sudden they're like, she's like, no, he's a good fighter. We should trust him. He's a good guy. But then she doesn't trust him. Like so she's vouching
She does
for
slowly.
him.
She does question him. She goes, "You're a foreigner." Like, what the fuck?
Well, she pushes him to the south, which is he's like, I don't want to go to the south because I know shit's gonna domino from there. And she's like, no, we need to go. And he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna drink the water then. And she's like, how dare you? I'm like, what the fuck do you want?
Like when she slapped him, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is kind of, I guess going in a way of like her being like frustrated with him doing it, and they're kind of like make up. No, she stayed pissed about it the whole entire time, and it's like, get over yourself and go with the cause. Like, you want your people free. This is the only way.
Like, if anyone can convince her that the fake religion will be born out into reality, it's Paul.
Yeah.
He can convince her. He's like, bitch, I'm the only dude who's lived through the water of life. Believe it.
Not to also mention,
it's real now.
He's the closest link to her. Like, she wouldn't take, like, if Lady Jessica said something, she wouldn't take the word. Stilgar said something, she wouldn't.
I know.
But, like, Paul, she's like, yeah, I trust you, Paul. I love you, Paul. And then, like, he goes, like, drinks the water, and she's like the biggest, like she just, I don't know, man, like, she just, like, turns her back on him and, like, her whole culture, in a way, and her whole people, because of her own pride. It's just weird. I don't know.
Yeah, again,
it's weird to be part of a people without being part of the culture of the people. Like, you're
it's a weird.
You're a woke Fremen or something. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't say they're segregated, like they're split up that way, like, because they both kind of, I guess, coexist, but they both recognize each other's, like,
the real fundamentalists aren't in the war. So that's why I was saying that there's a difference between a rebellion that's seeing the war 24/7, being more realistic, and the ones that aren't, and they stay more in the culture and in their own beliefs.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a little bit of fraction, but yeah, it does. The motivation, she does kind of doesn't make up her mind sometimes, but Paul's does. So he had a Padme moment where he kept seeing Chani die, right? And then he's like, okay, I feel like
tons of people die.
I feel like it's coming to a point where I have to make a fucking choice. And he doesn't want to lose her, so therefore he does kind of end up losing her because he takes the water to keep her. It's
That's
why
why
like
he didn't want to go south.
Padme.
Well, he didn't want to go south because he knew he would lose her eventually,
right.
And he.
So either way,
it's
like a Romeo and Juliet.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's why I love it. It's juicy to me, and maybe that's why they made them butt heads with their beliefs. But yeah, I can clearly see that there's a problem with that. I want to also talk about the sister as well. So the different part in here is you don't really see her.
But she's a huge part.
She is, where she's like the ring. She speaks to me and shit like that.
Nothing.
Yeah, and they talk. That's creepy.
So,
I like
does that happen in the books?
I'm pretty sure right when she drinks the water, not a miscarriage, but it prompts her to give birth. And she's like, she comes out of preemie. And
doesn't die,
and is like the age of 3 or something by the time she kills the Baron, but she's of a mind of some like thousands of years old.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say I like it because a few things. Visually, it worked when she took the water.
I like the eye.
When we told you,
looking.
Yeah, when we were talking about how Hans will let you know something big is happening. You saw the water go over the embryo.
I felt bad for her.
Burn.
And I like how
ooh, shit.
The mother, the one that died, she's like, she's pregnant. And dies, like, because she's the abomination. It is an abomination.
Also,
I kind of felt like that, too. Like, in this movie, because in the original movie, she just kind of stands in the background and just kind of does her Reverend Mother kind of like thing, right? But in this, you can kind of see the wheels are turning. Like, she's got plans, she's got ideas, and she's like formulating, and she's just kind of going through the motions of doing it. And it's almost like, I wouldn't say completely nefarious, but she has probably some bad intent,
right?
For some motivation that she has.
It seemed a little.
She's
sinister.
very loyal to her brother, which you respect, and she's good for a while.
And we saw the reveal of what's her face playing the sister in the future.
Yeah, Anna Taylor-Joy.
Anna Taylor-Joy as the sister. So I think that was a good pick. It was a big reveal that this is one of those big movies where every actor who is big who are in the current day has to find a role, no matter how small it is. But she does have a pretty big role in here. She talks to her nonstop, and she kind of rules things out. Like she kind of more or less convinces Jessica to run in deep into this prophecy and convince a lot and fall in.
And that's what I mean, like with like the talking, like do they converse and stuff like that?
That's
if
what
that's
it
the
seems
case,
like.
it sounds like okay, that sounds interesting. I want to know what is happening. I want to know the talks that are going on.
Right. So again, that was different, but I enjoyed it. Was that a huge deal that she wasn't walking around or whatever?
No. I think it worked for the story. Like for what we got, I think it was
honestly.
fun.
I think it would have been better if she was maybe at the end of the movie. She was finally born.
I was gonna say
that would get
at
me
the
jacked
end,
up.
But like having her there at the final battle, like be like a 3-year-old walking,
Yeah,
that would have thrown people through the loop. I think people would have
fine.
been way more confused with that.
Yeah,
Right.
So I think the way they did it, and the
I
way
like.
they handled
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was
like
fine.
you said, Paul just walked right up to the Baron and fucking sticks him right. In the neck.
It's weird too,
There's
because
that
like
line.
the Emperor strikes first, and then like cuts his medical device, whatever, and like smacks him in the back of his neck to break his thing, so he can't float away. And then like he's kind of crippled there, and that's when Paul just stomps in there,
and he just walks him down, and he stabs him in the fucking neck. I'm like, yeah.
And he literally looks him in the eyes, and is just like, "You're gonna die
like an animal, right?" Yeah, and they talked about how putting your hand in a box, what will an animal do or whatever. That he's not an animal. He's way higher. That he killed him like a fucking pig, which he was a pig. Let's face it.
But I do like when Paul and all those guys are kind of like he starts being trained by the Fremen, and he like we see him kind of. We talked about how he kind of like makes his way up to like Fremen like totem pole.
Right.
Starts getting kind of his own title, starts getting recognition, starts getting respect, and then people start believing in him. I would say that easily the best thing of that whole like montage though was him riding the worm. Riding the worm was awesome.
That was sick.
Almost the best part of the whole movie.
No,
not
it was.
For some of the action.
It was cool. The worm part was sick.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
he got the big one.
Yeah, and back to Stilgar's like comedy. He's like, oh no, not that big one. Like, what are you doing?
Exactly.
But,
and he run towards the dune that's splitting.
I did have one question.
Goes and gets it.
How do they get the rest of them on top of that?
That is true. And the thing that has the tent or the weird...
The caravan? They're a moving caravan.
First of all, how do you get off?
How do you
pull it to a stop or...
Well, even
they
at
never
the end,
show it.
Not worried about that.
At the end, they ride it into the compound to Arakeen, and they're like taking over the capital to get to the Emperor, and they're literally going through, but like, you do see them kind of slow down, so it's like...
Yeah, you don't see them really...
They're going fast, but they're not like bullets ripping through or anything. Right, it's not like Battle of the Five Armies or anything.
Right.
But yeah, it's pretty wild.
I feel like we covered a lot of stuff that I was thinking about. I just have a few little things here and there. What I was mentioning about the technology, it wasn't just the warfare that we got to see. We also got to see how they collect water from bodies. So I was like, hey, you're just going to be drinking a bunch of blood, and then they stab them with stuff. And he even says, like, these have a lot of chemicals in them, so we're going to use them for what?
Cooling
system, right. And then you saw how they also, it was sacred that they would take warriors or beloved characters or whatever, take their water out and put it in the pool or whatever, and you don't drink it because it's sacred. Or
put it in the siege.
Right.
Which is something he's mentioned before, and I didn't even know that was like a thing. And then we got to see it, and I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Right.
So it actually explains more of like their lore and their culture. So I was like, I like this. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Seeing their siege was really cool.
Right. They had a council, so we had like the politics involved with that, and they're pretty much like, get them the fuck out of here. I don't give a shit about it.
Yeah, they had like the elder council.
Right. And then what's his face? Like, no, I'm gonna teach Jake Sully in our ways, and we're gonna take on the invaders.
He does pull a Qui-Gon. It's just like, I'm gonna do what I want. And they're like, all right, fine.
Yeah, we can't
go ahead,
force you to do it. Also, I loved Thade's birthday scene where we get to see the dark sun or the black sun or whatever. It bleaches everything. The color's gone. It's only white.
That was
black.
Really cool. The transition was
very cool. Yes.
The arena was cool. Plus, like, just it. So the H.R. Giger is the guy who did like a lot of the designs for the first movie, and H.R. Giger is this Swiss idealist who's like he created a lot of the art and like the hive work for the Alien movies.
Really?
Those are his designs.
Interesting.
And it was based off on like a lot of his work, and so to see a lot of that still transition over into this one, like that whole monolith arena was like that was very Giger. I was like, this looks amazing.
And then people
awesome.
are clapping and doing unison chanting.
Then you have the Baron come out like the Emperor, like the Roman
and you
days.
see his colors slowly fade into black and white.
You see the men in dresses.
The men in dresses?
Yeah, when he's rolling out to the balcony.
Oh yeah,
there's a bunch of dudes.
They're like smiling and stuff. They're like
and holding themselves in dresses.
Yeah. But one thing I did have a question about was, so do they drug the warriors that he fights purposely?
Sure
that's like a thing.
In the book, I'm pretty sure they weren't. He just cheated and used a poison blade, which they didn't mention at all.
Instead of poisoning them,
so he just nicked them, and then they'd go. Then he would have the advantage on them and actually stab them. But I did like how there was one guy in there who wasn't drugged, and he put up a damn good fight, and that was a challenge, in the book. Yeah. Where he's like, I'm not afraid of your fucking Harkonnen ass, let's go. And he did. He was like, come on.
Right. Yeah.
And almost got him.
He went through his shield.
Well, which is another thing too. So like he has the shield, and then to prove his metal, he like takes it off. And he's like,
and he's laughing at the dude in his face. What? He's like, "Stay away from him." He hated when they intervened and everything.
Yeah,
I like Thay.
I think that's cool, but it's very prideful. But it's like, okay, if that's the case, then that's the case, then why wear a shield at all, or why even drug him? Like
maybe it's just like
so good at killing all of them.
I didn't like the drugging part. I wanted him to be 3 prime dudes.
That would have been cool.
And then he could. And I didn't like the 1, 2 dead, 1, 2 dead, and then the rest of it was.
First of all, when they're going,
I know he's going. Oh, and everyone in the stands are going. Yeah, you got him. You beat that wounded dude's ass.
And he also has a weird moment before he goes out, before he walks out into the arena. He receives his
like 7 of his.
He receives his blades, and like one's more of like a kind of like
machete.
I wouldn't say like a dagger, but like a mini katana. Like there's a word for it. I don't remember what it is, but it's like it's about arm length.
That's supposed to be the poison one.
And then he has like a little dagger, the white one.
Right.
And he gets the dagger thing, and he's like, "Wow, okay." Blah 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 blah.
He's like, "Needs to be sharpened."
He's like, "Yeah, it's a little dull. You need to sharpen it." And it like kills like 3 people, and everybody's like, "What?" And then he has like these like 3 like pygmy bitches.
His pets,
carnivore or not carnivore? Cannibals.
Yeah.
And feed my darlings. They haven't been fed in a while.
Yeah.
Poor things.
He pulls like a Ramsay Snow and is just like, I gotta feed my animals.
Yeah.
It's like that was kind of a cool like aspect. His brutality and like his like they even say he's like a sociopath.
Yeah.
They talk about like how much like how like of a risk he is.
Right.
And he got a little wiener or something.
He's sexually
humiliated
or
like,
whatever.
I love how they added that in there because I was like,
oh,
what an idiot!
But that's the deal, though.
Idiot, loser, can't get it up, loser.
But he says like he probably went. He has to be hurt to feel anything to like even.
That's why he kills all the women.
Yeah,
you laugh at it one more time.
So I feel like we've covered everything, unless there is anything else that you guys wanted to mention, or just a conclusion, I guess.
I'll say what I wanted to see that I didn't get to see.
Okay, go ahead.
And it's small things, but I wanted more flash forward, kind of how we had in the first one. More of the maybe a different planet or something on like the Holy Wars, because we got such a is like one of the best part, if not the best part of the first movie. And instead, it's like a vague, I'm following some person, don't know who it is. I think it's a female. It's my mom, or could be someone else. Eventually becomes his mom. And I'm following her into the desert, and it causes famine and shit like that. I would rather see, like, worlds being, like, destroyed.
Seeing the scene with Paul in the first movie when he has that flash forward where he's murking everybody up. And he has like it's more of like the metallic armor that like the visor goes up at the end, and you see that it's him. I was like, cool, we get to see this in the next one. We didn't see that, which was kind of a bummer. But Channing had her moment to shine.
It was
she was doing
like
almost the exact same thing.
Some cool John
she
Wick
faces the camera right afterwards.
Yep. She mirrors it the exact same way, which I was like, okay, we did get it. So it's like it's close, but it's not.
That's what I'm saying.
Same.
I think they gave some of the spotlight to her unnecessarily, and it threw me off. I kind of wanted maybe a glimpse of the twins, just to get us jacked for past this next one, because that's kind of how the first one was. It shot pretty far into the future, and I just wanted a little bit more of that.
What about you, Dirk? What's your final conclusion on this beast of a movie?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did like it. I didn't have a lot that I didn't enjoy. Just like a couple nitpicky things here, mostly like character arc type things. I wish we would have got a little more action at the end when they attacked the Capitol. That would have been like a little bit cooler. But I was still happy we got to see what we got to see.
Right.
More of the sieges would have been cool.
Yeah.
The ambiguous ending was.
That was weird.
Yeah. It kind of like cliffhangered almost, but not fully cliffhangered. Like it's just like, oh well, things are in motion, so you know things are to come. But it's like there better be things to come. Like, I'm gonna be pissed if this shit doesn't happen.
Right.
But like you said, I'm pretty determined that it probably will.
Yeah, there's no way this ain't getting the third movie.
But other than that, no, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was really cool.
Right.
So yeah.
Right on.
I give it a pretty high score.
Yeah. Like I said before, I loved it. This is one of those movies that we used to grow up seeing as kids, where you just here's another fucking great franchise to get psyched about, and we just been in a deficit with this, with movies and even video games, and this I feel like is giving me a lot of hope.
It's almost like a return to form to space operas.
There is
right.
no hope.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
that's not hope.
Shut up.
There are no signs.
Shut up.
But yeah, okay. But yeah, like I said, awesome. I can't wait to see more of it, and I can't wait to see the studio run it into the ground. But for now, I'm enjoying it. They're killing it.
They'll change out the director. I'm
Denis
Villeneuve,
right now.
He ain't gonna finish it.
Denis fucking killed it, and if they get rid of him, then they're just gonna make a mistake. Real excited for the future. Super pumped about this movie. I was sweating in the movie theater because I wanted to be like Paul and just like bang my chest. I was moving. I was doing this. I was in it. I was having a good fucking time, and I haven't had that in a long time. So
it was a good movie to get immersed into, for sure.
Yeah.
Good things are coming. Good things.
But anyways, guys, that was our review for Dune Part 2. We will see you guys in the next one.
Later.